Hey there, truth seekers. I'm Larry Litton, your guide through the maze of modern politics and power dynamics on liberty, leadership, and lies. Each episode will challenge the narratives, expose the lies, and celebrate the leaders who champion true liberty. Get ready to question, learn, and maybe even change your mind. So let's dive into the truth together. Okay, folks. This week, we will wrap up our interview with Professor Ridgley. I listened to the audiobook this past week, and it's packed full of more facts than we could get to on the program. And I would like to encourage each of you, especially those with parents with children about to head off to college this fall, to get you a copy. It is the best way to arm yourself and your child prior to encountering this garbage when they arrive at their chosen university later this year. I would also like to remind the audience of next week's guest, Dr. Carol Lieberman, America's psychiatrist. Please join us as we discuss our nation's latest mental health crisis, Trump derangement syndrome. Tune in as we dissect the irrational obsession with President Trump and how it has become a psychological syndrome, blinding many to reality. We'll talk about the definition of TDS and its origins, the impact TDS is having on society, and offer a path to healing during next week's episode. For now, let's take a stand in the arena for the final part of our interview with Professor Stanley Ridgley this week and get on with the show. Welcome to Liberty, Leadership, and Lies, the podcast where we unravel the complex web of politics, power, and deception. Each week, we dive into the stories behind the headlines, exploring how liberty is eroded and the selfishness of our political leaders, as well as the lies that shape our world. Join us as we dissect the truth from fiction by examining the tactics used by the new aristocracy, the political class, at the local, state, and national levels of government as we dare to challenge the status quo. Get ready for thought-provoking discussions, exclusive interviews, and a journey into the heart of what really drives our society. Liberty, Leadership, and Lies, where your understanding of the world begins to change. Tune in every Monday morning and prepare to see beyond the veil. Now, you've said that DEI is in its twilight shadows due to its own internal contradictions. What signs of its collapse do you highlight in DEI exposed that give conservatives hope?
What sort of what do I?
What signs of its collapse?
Signs. Signs. Well, the signs are there. They're like billboards right now, but we have to understand that there's going to be a long twilight struggle to oust them, because the people are simply going to still be there. And they're just going to change what they do. They're not going to change their belief system. We need to bring people in who don't believe this nonsense. People who understand that it's nonsense. Now, let me be clear. I have no problem studying this phenomenon on the college campus in a course that's looking at DEI as a perspective. Here's what these people believe. Here is what they say. That they believe that we are grouped in humanities, grouped into two groups and villains and victims. Here's what they believe. And looking at this and letting students see this alongside, say, something else, another worldview that says, well, say the Christian worldview or the an Eastern worldview, worldviews, the secular worldview, anything. But what we're saying is that instead of propounding this DEI as the truth, the received truth, and that permeates everything that we are doing, that's the case. That's absolutely against everything we in the university have always stood for. So the signs that it's fading, I think, are the big body blows that have been dispensed from the Department of Education. They've come rapidly. They have come, there's a Valentine's Day, February 14th, Dear Colleague letter. That's what it's called. They're called Dear Colleague letters. From the Department of Education that really put universities on notice that you're going to have to get rid of your DEI people. You're going to have to start adhering to U.S. civil rights law because you have been in violation of that law. This is our interpretation of it. Mm-hmm. And you've seen, as we move through the month of March, we've now seen the administration basically bringing out the stick to Columbia University, putting their $400 million of federal funding in jeopardy. And you might be thinking, well, isn't Columbia a private university? I understand that University of Michigan, the University of Virginia, they might be subject to the state's, participation, but private universities, yes, because they are receiving federal dollars in the direct grants, research grants, and also Pell grants to students and money. They're a subcontractor. And so they have to adhere to U.S. federal civil rights laws. And if you don't, well, you don't get that money. You can do what you want to. That's one of the things. Well, they're blackmailing. No, they're not blackmailing. You can do what you want to. You have Columbia. You have a $15 billion endowment. Surely you can draw upon that endowment to replace the $400 million that the pittance that the federal government is providing you. And then you can chart your own course. You can be as anti-Semitic as you want to. You can be as bizarre and offer as substandard an education as you want to. Harvard University is finding its $9 billion in research grants is now up for grabs because they have not policed their campus as wisely as they should. University of Pennsylvania, $175,000 in research money is in jeopardy. At Princeton University, over $200 million is in jeopardy right now, research grants. Until and unless the university presents a plan that says, you know what, we have things under control now. You see, because that's all that's at issue right here. If you look at the list of demands, say for Harvard University or for Columbia University, you find that there's nothing unreasonable there. It's what they should have been doing all along. In fact, had they been doing it all along, disciplining students according to the rules and regulations, no trespassing, no vandalism, no assault, no intimidation, no bullying of other students, not covering your face during a demonstration, identifying yourself with your ID in plain view, having a police force on the campus with the arrest powers, not allowing an encampment to exist for month after month. If you had done those things, we wouldn't be having this conversation, and your 400 million wouldn't even be on the table. But you've shown a track record of no accountability. You've shown a track record of chaos, lack of control, lack of responsibility, and in the case of Columbia, rampant anti-Semitism that at the highest levels of the university. We've seen evidence, and that's why we're talking about this right now.
Absolutely. So let me ask you a little bit of switching gears here, but not too far away. What's your take on the student loan forgiveness debate? Does it tie into the DEI mess, and is it exposed in your book?
Well, the student loans are like a different animal, okay? It's basically people who have willingly, knowingly borrowed money to do what they want to do, and now are seeking other people to pay off that debt. I would love to have a national or federal mandate to pay off my credit card debt. I would love to have that. I mean, I made those expenditures. They're important to me. I made those choices, and now I'd like to have you, Larry, and a lot of other people pay my credit card debt. I'd like to have, I'm sorry, I should have it forgiven. That's the positive valence word that they use. Oh, I'm going to forgive the student debt. Well, we have to understand that there are other ways of going to college and not running up a bar tab you can't pay. You can go to community college for 2 years. I know lots of people who sent their kids to community college and then go to a 4-year school, graduate with the same degree. Much cheaper, much cheaper. We also find that universities are out of control with regard to their tuition. Wellesley College, Massachusetts, I think it's Massachusetts. Yeah, it's basically it's just become the most expensive college in America. It's yearly tuition, fees, lodging, food has now totals over $100,000 a year. Well, $100,000 a year. Now, what are you getting from Wellesley College? It's a girls' school, women's school. What are you getting that's worth $100,000 a year? It's one of the most radical schools in America, some of the radical programs. And it's very rarefied atmosphere there. But you're not going to get a good engineering job coming out of Wellesley.
Mhm.
you're probably going to become a professor. That's really all you'll be qualified to do.
Or a DEI specialist.
DEI, yes, that's where the big money is. Okay, screw this, this engineer. I want to make big money. I want to do the work, do the work. DEI
Absolutely.
for $400,000 a year. I'm there.
Right. Absolutely. So in your book, DEI Exposed, you mentioned snitch hotlines and privilege
Oh,
walks,
oh.
feeding paranoia. How do these tactics undermine the traditional university experience?
What, a snitch line. What's a snitch line? Everyone knows what a snitch line is, right? You can anonymously accuse your neighbors of some wrongdoing, and you're going to be telling on your neighbors to the authorities. Snitch lines were a big thing in Soviet Russia. It's Chinese. Every totalitarian regime has the version of a snitch line.
Like California during COVID.
Yeah, you can call, report your neighbors. This is a panacea for those people who love to look out the window and keep track of what their neighbors are doing, that kind of thing. You're enabling that kind of behavior. But what you've done with that, and this is in the literature on totalitarian regimes, this allows anyone to draft into service the apparatus, the security apparatus of a totalitarian regime and aim it at their neighbor. It turns neighbors against neighbor. And not all the reports in Soviet Russia were, about if someone wasn't, sufficiently loyal to Lenin or Stalin, or they weren't singing loud enough the Soviet national anthem. It might be someone who envies they envy the guy's cow. They want his cow, or they want his wife. They want to report that guy, get him out of the way. And this was a really effective way. It wasn't the security apparatus that was oppressing the Soviet people. It was the Soviet people by virtue of these snitch lines, snitching on the authorities. I'm sorry, snitching to the authorities on someone. In like fashion, on college campuses, to a greater or lesser degree, snitch lines have been set up where you can report other folks. You can do it anonymously. Most of them have to say, well, if you have a nominal thing, well, you got to tell your name, that kind of thing. But we'll keep it confidential. And I have no doubt that they will if it's the right kind of report. And then what happens after, there's a snitch law? What happens if you snitch? If I snitch on Larry, what happens? Well, they will mobilize what this sounds like Fahrenheit 451. They'll mobilize a bias response team, BRT, because they have a bias response system. It sounds like there's the sirens going off and people are coming down a silver pole.
Right.
And
They're
yelling,
rappelling down into your dorm
yeah, bias response team gonna bang down your door wearing black. Well, it's not really that, but it's similar to it in such in principle. They're going to investigate you, and many times at many schools, you don't even know you're being investigated for some violation. Probably one of those imaginary microaggressions. It's like this guy asked me where I'm from. And I was offended by that, as if I don't belong here. So, so I'd like to report him. Oh, by the way, I don't want my name used. And so you see the leverage that this gives these folks. We got a racial microaggression. We can tick that off our matrix. And by the way, let's go investigate that Larry guy and find out what he's all about. Give him a visit, talk to him. So,
and what $40,000 Zoom meeting can we book next?
yeah, exactly. Okay, what we've just done, what's not to like? We do all that, and now we got a racial climate that is in decline. We can bring Sean Harper here. We can pay him $40,000. And oh, by the way, I'm a DEI person here. I might get on the team that gets to make some of that $40,000. It's an amazing circle of friends that are passing the money back and forth. What a scam! Whew.
Racket.
Yeah, yes. I say in the book, it's a protection racket.
Yes. I mean, yeah, exactly like Jesse Jackson did. I remember
Yeah,
those days quite vividly. I mean, I
yeah.
think his biggest one that he went after was either Pepsi or Coca-Cola, right?
Mhm.
And they caved instantly.
Yeah,
Instantly.
Yeah, he knows. Jesse Jackson was talking their language. No
Mm,
bad publicity.
mm,
We don't want to appear that we're racially insensitive or whatever the heck it is we're supposed to have done.
mm.
Just pay him the money.
Right? Just let's
Take it out
let's
of petty
let's
cash.
let's do this and let's keep the sales going. We don't want nothing to interrupt it.
Yeah.
So now your book suggests DEI has cost universities millions of dollars, and also now, I mean, we've seen it all over, the ruined reputations. What's the most egregious example of this waste in either reputation or money that you've uncovered?
Well, I'll leave that to the New York Times magazine, and that's really surprising. A fellow by the name of what's his name? Confessore, Nicholas Confessore, wrote an article in October of this past year, blowing the lid off, as they like to say, basically revealing the scam at the University of Michigan, which is kind of like the poster child of bad policy. That's the most egregious example that I can think of. They spent $250 million. Now think about that for a second. It's a university. This isn't Apple, okay? $250 million since 2016, over 9 years. They've erected a bureaucracy of over 260 people. And by their own measure, they have not improved the situation at Michigan by any noticeable measure. Now, that again is the problem. How are you measuring what they did? How are you measuring the impact of $250 million whenever the problem is not specified and the solution is not specified beyond hiring people to address the problem and do the work? Oh, we've got 260 people full time doing the work of anti racism, doing the work of DEI. We've spent $250 million. Now, I ask you this question. What if you hadn't hired any of those people? And since 2016, you had spent $250 million on scholarships for people in economic need. You can't do not racially specific scholarships, but scholarships for everyone based on economic need. Now that really opens the door to everyone and doesn't discriminate on the basis of race and sex. But what it also does is it helps you solve that perceived problem that DEI is supposed to fix. Because if African American families are worse off on the average than white families, then this program in Michigan will benefit them more than it will anyone else. This is not rocket science. You spend the 250 million bucks on creating scholarships for economically needy, and suddenly you've got a couple of thousand people coming into the University of Michigan that never would have had that opportunity and are solving that problem that you described. But that's not what they want, you see. No one
They,
is getting rich off that.
they want the self-licking ice cream cone.
They want something along those lines. No one is getting wealthy off that. I call them the grand panjandrums of DEI are not getting wealthy. They're not benefiting from this. They can't go on TV. They can't go in the newspaper, and they can't go to the special, Dionysian wine party where they're sitting talking to the important people. That would be the most egregious. Virginia is another special case, although they've really at $20 million a year, they have really canted their contributions to the high end of those three people making $1.5 million out of a $20 million DEI budget. But they got more than 60 people that they're paying. What could you do with $60 million? You fire those people, and what can you do with $60 million in terms of an economic program designed to raise the opportunities for all people?
Right, you cut out the salaries, that amount of money in processes and programs vice people
Yeah.
would pay huge dividends again. But like I said, they want the self-licking ice cream cone. They don't want to solve it, so they keep getting
Oh,
the money churn.
exactly. We'll never solve this problem. My salary depends on the problem.
Absolutely. What advice would you give to parents that are, based upon your book, who are worried about sending their kids to these universities that are steeped in this ideology?
Well, the piece of advice I would give parents is to understand that, well, number one, they don't like you. The student affairs people at the university, they don't like you. They're going to set up a parents portal where they'll keep in touch with you via email, and they'll tell you how your kid is doing, et cetera, et cetera. And this will suffice as a proxy for, oh, we're cooperating with parents. They think you're toxic. They think you're helicopter parents. They think they know better than you. They're handing over. Parents are handing over your kids to them, and they're going to. "Oh, it's okay. We'll take it from here, and it will be best if you don't contact your kid for a period of time while he or she is socialized into the university ethos." No, you parents need to keep in touch with your kids, recognize that there will be a concerted attack on your kids, on the way they were brought up, on their personal beliefs, on their belief system, and they will be trying, they being the university in the form of student affairs, will be attacking and trying to create this new belief system and have your son or daughter adopt it. It's one of critical consciousness. That's what they call it. That's what they call it. And it has come right out of Paulo Freire and his notion of oppressors and oppressed. And this is why your kids are going to be so angry when they come back for Thanksgiving break. They're going to be arguing with you. They're going to think you're stupid or something because you hid this knowledge from them. They're going to be given hidden special knowledge when they go to college. But it's not. There's nothing hidden special about it. It's simply another worldview that's been rejected by millions of people who were subjected to it over the entire 20th century. It's basically socialism. It's basically social justice is just socialism under another name, and as is DEI, as is CRT. And this is what they're propounding. They call it social justice. They say this in their websites, et cetera, et cetera. So parents should recognize that this is not a benign environment, that the college is not like it used to be. It is not this, oh, it's a marketplace of ideas where ideas are going to come here and are going to contend, and the best ideas win. And then if ideas is found to be lacking or failing, it will be ushered off to make room for new ideas coming in. That's not how it works. There's nothing. One of the worst ideas in human history was socialism. One of the worst ideas was what Marx said. It's never left the scene. It has lost in the marketplace of ideas again and again and again. Ludwig von Mises, Friedrich Hayek, Milton Friedman, and Thomas Sowell have all debunked Marxism. The arguments against it are manifest to anyone who wants to read them. But the folks who believe in it, and your guess is as good as mine why they continue to believe in it, the dream, the utopia, continues its presence on the college campuses and almost nowhere else, unless it's in regimes like Nicaragua or Venezuela, places, Fidel inspired Cuba.
Absolutely.
And North Korea, communist China, that's where socialism will thrive, and it's not even real socialism. Oh, it's not real. No, it is socialism. That is what it is. That's what it looks like. It's not something else. That I love that phrase on the college campuses with that. Oh, socialism never been tried yet. I say, excuse me. So the Bolsheviks were not socialists. Or communists. The Cuban, the communist Chinese, the North Koreans. Those guys are not real communists / socialists. They were stupid. No, this is the top line theoretical spear point of socialism, not these armchair revolutionaries we find in our college campuses. So what we have on the campus for parents is what you have is a crucible of indoctrination, and so arming your students with the right ideas and a good upbringing. That's not going to be enough. Because the idea of it being, oh, ideas are going to contend. No, you've got louts at the front of the classroom who are dispensing the truth as they see it. I'm not one of those people. No, that's not the Weberian in terms of Max Weber's university is you're neutral and you present the value-free classroom as best as you're capable of doing. It's not a bully pulpit for you to spout your own personal political beliefs. So parents should tell their kids, don't trust these people. Give your trust, haltingly. Okay, be very careful with that. Don't start spouting, private information in public forums. Okay, don't talk about your political affiliation. Don't talk about your parents, your income, where you're from. Don't say that in a group. that's undistinguished. You don't know who these people are. You have no idea who these people are. Find out and do that information sharing privately if you feel it's necessary and justified. That would be and monitor what's going on. Keep a thumb on that. Recognize the parents portal. That's primarily for sending you the deadline to pay, next quarter's tuition. That's what that's for.
Absolutely. So looking ahead, do you think your book DI Exposed, it can help spark a movement to reclaim the universities as places of true learning, or are most of them just too far gone?
It could. It could be I think of it as the definitive resource to utterly debunk. If you're looking to debunk DEI and to have something to say to someone who's, oh, I love DEI. It's how can you buy you're racist, you're sexist, you're bigot, DEI. DEI Exposed provides you the arguments and the reality check that these people need. They need a good splash of cold water in the face to understand that what they're saying is not what DEI actually is. It's not what actually is happening. I hope that DEI Exposed, it has the potential to do that. It's as I said, it's 100% factual. I like to say it's not worthy of not worthy. It's not liable to criticism. You can say it's too long. You can say it's too short. You can say I use too many big words, too many easy words, but you can't challenge the factuality of it because it is locked up. It's 450 pages. If you're a footnote kind of person, it has over 600, and you can go check the sources. It's locked up tight. And if you want to understand why these DEI louts should be kicked off the campuses today and never allowed back on the campus other than a guest speaker for a far left sect or cult. That's the only way they should be allowed back on the college campuses. I think it explodes this myth of DEI as being sort of moral, right, noble, and just. That's BS, okay?
It's counter to all of that.
It's counter to all of that. In fact, it teaches people to be hyper suspicious, narcissistic, externalization of blame, all of these things in an alternative reality that I think that is really doing a lot of harm to our universities, but we are turning that ship around.
Sweet. Okay, so for the audience, what's the one takeaway from DI Exposed you'd want every conservative to arm themselves with when talking about the future of education?
Well, that's a tough one, okay? But one thing
Just
is
one.
DEI is a fraud. Okay, DEI is a fraud and it's a proxy for CRT or critical race theory. It is socialism marching under a different banner. If you understand the evil of Marxism, you understand what that really means in socialism, and that these are bad people. The most basic thing would, but these are bad people. They're not nice people. I mean, they might be nice in the sense that, oh, you're a good conversationalist kind of thing, but these are people who mean the university ill, and they want to change the university. And I don't think we should let them. We have to understand that's what they're trying to do. So I would say that you understand that DEI is a fraud. It's a con game. It's based on getting your trust, giving you your trust, and then basically putting themselves on the payroll for hundreds upon hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars, to teach your kids how to hate. That's what it is.
Wow, great. So where can everybody find your book, Professor?
Well, you can find it on Amazon. That's a great place to get it. Amazon, it's got a lot of good reviews already.
Good,
It's
good.
it got troll reviews, of course, too, but it's got a lot of good reviews of people who actually read the book. And I should tell you, it comes in hardback, paperback, Kindle, and let me tell you this, my publisher tells me next week it's coming out in Audible for audiobook. So that's going to be, I know a lot of people like to listen to books while they go to work, they like to listen to books while they work out, and that kind of thing. So if the Audible's coming out, you can also get it at Barnes and Noble. And so you can go online, type my name in, type DE Expos, and there you'll find it. Come to my website where I do put most of my writings, which is called brutalminds.com. Brutalminds.com, and reach out to me on my primary social media platform, which is LinkedIn. I'm slowly growing my Twitter or X presence, as they say. But my primary, I've got over 30,000 followers on LinkedIn, and I'd like your members of your audience to be a part of that. Just reach out to me as a contact, and I'm happy to chat with you.
Great. I'll put links to all of that in the description of this podcast on the audio platforms. Definitely on the at least Rumble. The clickable links on will be on Rumble. I'll put it on YouTube. I share this podcast on LinkedIn as well. So, Professor, thank you for coming on the show. I appreciate the overcoming the scheduling snafus there for a little bit. And anything that you would like to close with today?
Just keep the faith. Things are going to get better. Work for the principles that this country were founded on, and keep the faith and take care of your family. That's most important.
Thank you, Professor. Now, for the audience, I appreciate you coming on. You have a great evening, sir.
You as well, Larry. It's great to be here.
Great. Thank you. All right, that'll cut the recording. Again, thanks for coming on. I hope the Audible is going to be great because like where I'm headed out in Wyoming, it's a lot of windshield time, a lot of it. I got to
Yeah, I got you.
travel. I go all the way from sometimes up to North Dakota and Montana, all the way down to the southern part of Wyoming, working in the oil field
Okay,
with
you're
these
an oil
guys.
man.
I'm not an oil man. I'm a leadership coach.
Okay,
So I help, for 30 years in the military, I helped put the boom boom stuff downrange. And
yeah,
well, these guys are working with boom boom stuff, so I want to make sure that they don't boom boom themselves. So
I got you.
I do a little bit of leadership and human performance consulting with these guys.
All right. Well, thanks, Larry. I appreciate it. I'm glad we got it worked out, and I waxed on quite a bit there, but I appreciate the opportunity.
Absolutely, Professor. Now, again, every time I release the episode segment, I'll shoot you an email.
We're gonna have several. Is this gonna be split up? That's gonna be
Yeah, so we
good.
split up into at
Good.
least two, probably three episodes.
That sounds great, man. Take care. Have a good weekend. Okay.
You too. Thank you very much, Professor.
Bye bye now.
Bye bye. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that concludes the final part of our interview with Professor Ridgley. I hope you found it as enlightening as I did. The amount of money that is poured into higher education by the left and the efforts to convert children into DEI acolytes is outstanding. Be sure and pick up your copies of Professor Ridgley's book so you can arm yourselves against these insidious attacks on children. As the professor and I discussed during this interview, this DEI scourge is filtered all the way down into K through 12 education in our nation, and there is only one reason for that. We've talked about it a lot on the show. You cannot have communism unless you have the kids. Once again, please give the episode a thumbs up on Rumble or YouTube, as well as share the show with your contacts and on your social media accounts. Be sure and tune in next week as we sit down with America's psychiatrists and discuss Trump derangement syndrome. This week's wisdom from God's Word comes to us from the book of Psalms, chapter 31, verse 24. Be strong and take heart, all you who hope in the Lord. Our nation's biblical foundations are constantly under attack by those who would see themselves and their institutions replace our Creator with their evil. And they do that through vehicles such as diversity, equity, and inclusion. Our hope is only found in Christ Jesus, and we can take heart and stay strong in the knowledge. Until next week, ladies and gentlemen, let's take a stand in the arena together. Reveille, it's time to wake up.